Hello, it's Kat, and today's video is going to be on isolation. And when I think about isolation, I think about this conversation that I had with an advocate I was talking to them about. I never felt like I was isolated. I felt like I could leave anytime I wanted to. And they said, well, let's talk about isolation a little bit. And they asked me, so when you would go out, when you came home, were you met with an angry person? Were you met with a sad person? Were you met with someone who tried to guilt you into the fact that you were not with them? And then they asked this poignant question, which was, did they ever ask you if you had fun? And what about those phone calls and those text messages you had to answer? And I was like, I never thought about it that way. So I'm hoping that's what you kind of get from this little video that I'm doing, is that there's this man named Biderman. Albert Biderman, I believe is his name. He was a social scientist, and he did a study on the soldiers that came back from Korea as POWs in 1957. And what he realized that is these methods that were used against these soldiers could also be applied to victims of domestic violence, because this is psychological abuse and warfare. And so if we look, I think that he interviewed like 7,900 and some odd amount of people. And in those people that he interviewed, only 5% didn't collaborate with their abusers. And this is why you see that connection between abusers and their victims, is because that's the way you survive in those kinds of situations. That is that coercive control tactic that is in motion. And so if you look at isolation from the standpoint of domestic violence, at the very beginning of the relationship, you may see this sugar-coated relationship at first, somewhat normal, because we want to put our best foot forward and have people see us in the best light. And so we spend a lot of time with these people because we haven't gotten to know them. We don't know who they are, and we're excited. And then as time goes along, it becomes hard to get away from these people, to have breaks. Let's just say you go home and you're like, I'm going to go spend some time with one of my friends. And they're like, oh, but, I was going to make dinner tonight and I had planned for us. You see, you get entrenched with routine with ourselves and with others. And then that's how they start with this isolation. It's underhanded. It is not like they carry a sign and say, I want to isolate you. It's not like they say you can't go at the very beginning, because they want to entice you in. And eventually you learn and you become consumed by your partner's needs. They need to use the car. They create drama if you leave. They don't want to watch kids. And so there may be fallouts with family and friends where you're pressured to have to choose between them, and you make the decision, and it's your decision. And so it doesn't feel like you're isolating away from your friends. You may have a religion that tells you that you need to choose your partner over everybody else. There's lots of ways to think about this isolation, because it reduces time spent with other people who may be able to give you the support. And it is in our social and our culture, as well, to adhere towards isolating with the family and doing those kinds of things. And there isn't this development of self. And I like the um, words of Dick Van Dyke when he says, love is the feeling of caring for the life and welfare of the other person as much as you care for yourself. And I think about, what if you have dreams, things you want to do in that full life that you want to have? You see, because the abuser wants to stop you from seeing your friends. They don't want to allow you to go outside the home or participate in social events. They're wanting to know wherever it is that you're going and who you're going to be with. They check on your emails, they check your texts, they check your, by calling you. They may tell lies to your friends, they tell lies to your kids, they pit people against each other. This is that isolating of you, asking you who you're talking to. Why didn't you answer the phone? Why were you flirting with that person? Why were you wearing that? Why did you put that makeup on? Who are you texting? And then it becomes more um, overt, where it's just like, you're not leaving this house. You're my wife, my husband. There's that ownership of you. And when you find yourself in these relationships, you become embarrassed that you're there. And so that may hold you back, and that may isolate you from doing what you want to do. So think about this word isolation. Think about how it applies to your life and to your relationships, and proceed with caution if you have been threatened or there is violence in this. But it is something that I think is important. I wish somebody would have talked to me about it. So Biderman's chart talks about isolation. It talks about monopolization of perception. It talks about exhaustion, degradation, and humiliation, threats, occasional indulgences, demonstrating omnipotence, and enforcing trivial demands. And if you start to listen to and understand like what isolation is, then you can start to see the different things that come in with tactics and why it's so complex, because you may feel isolated, but you may also be having an abuser monopolizing your perception by having you're having that person as the only person in your ear. They're exhausting you by pressuring you to be the person that they want you to be. They begin threatening you with what's going to happen if you don't curtail to what it is that they want you to be. They may indulge you. They may demonstrate that they are a godlike figure and they're going to make the rules. And they may start enforcing trivial demands as well in that whole mix. See, part of that, when we started out with this, is that sugarcoating. Somewhere along the line, it became reduced time with your family, your friends, and the support that you have out in the world. And I will leave you with Biderman's work of, out of the 700 or 7,900 and some odd people, only 5% didn't collaborate with the abuser because these tactics were used against them. It's not you. You need to know the tactics if you're in this kind of relationship. And I hope it helps. Take care. Bye-bye.